you could introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Emma, for having me. And yes, this is Isabel, and I'm. I just started 1 month ago to be part in this group with Emma and the rest of my new friends because I really want to improve my English level and to feel that I'm an imposter with my English, because yes, I think the reason because I challenged Byron, and Byron challenged me to talk about this theme, is because we feel that when we are using our English, we are an imposter, even if we have been studying English for a long time, or we have to use it every day. And this is my case. I'm using English. I'm speaking English every day, but still, I think that I'm not ready to do it. I'm not ready to understand it, and that's why I'm here today talking about it.
Cool, thank you, Isabel. And hello, John. My godfather is here watching us.
Hello.
hello. So this is interesting, and I'm sure that any other English learners, or just even if you're not an English learner, people who sometimes feel insecure when they're talking with other people in certain situations or speaking in public, I'm sure that they can relate to what Isabel is saying about feeling like an imposter. And in a minute, we will talk about exactly what that means. I'll ask Isabel to explain what she means by feeling like an imposter. But just as a general idea, it's feeling like you are a fake. It's feeling like you're false. It's feeling like you're not really being you. You're not being authentic. You're not right for the whatever you're doing at the time. You're not good enough, etc., etc. But I would rather hear Isabel talk about it than me. It's interesting what Isabel is saying, because she has been studying English her whole life, as we say in Spanish, toda la vida. And she works in English every day. In fact, Isabel lives in the UK, and she works in the UK. And even then, Isabel has moments that she feels like an imposter speaking or communicating in English. So well, Isabel, maybe first of all, you can tell us about the job that you do as well in the UK.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm working in a nursery school as a nursery practitioner. I've been studying. I've studied in Spain to be a teacher, and when I came to England, I thought that the best way to start to develop my profession, my career, was to find a job in a nursery. I found it, and now I'm working in preschool with children between 3 and 5, 6 years old. I really love it. I really love my job because it's my passion. Children are my passion, and I like to be surrounded by them, singing songs, telling stories, teaching them something new based in their interests, and I think I'm learning English because of them. They are teaching me English, they are making me my learning process easier, and I'm enjoying it. But at the same time, I feel that kind of insecurity, because sometimes I'm stuck. I can do the same that I would do in Spanish.
Okay, thank you, Isabel. And I'm sure that children are teaching you a lot of other things as well, which maybe we will talk about later, not just the language.
Not just the language. True.
Related to our topic.
Yeah.
But I want people who are watching, or if you're not watching now, I can't actually see, for some reason, my Facebook screen is frozen, so I can't see if anyone's watching. But if you're watching this now or you're watching this later, well, first of all, if you have any questions, just type them in the comments and we will answer them later. And also, if you're a native English speaker watching this, I just want you to take a moment to appreciate what it is for somebody who's not native to be working in a native environment. You know, because we were talking about this the other day in the English Practice Network, that often or sometimes people who don't speak other languages, who've never worked in another language, who've never lived in another country, aren't really aware or don't have the skills in order to be able to communicate effectively with someone who's not from that country. And at the end of the day, communication is a two-way process. So that's something for any native people watching this at the moment. And for non-natives, people who speak English as a second language, just appreciate how well Isabel speaks English, and the fact that she's working in the UK and yet she still feels insecure sometimes. So for me, this is evidence that those two are separate. It's not about your level of English or how long you've been learning or whether you're working in a native environment. The issue of insecurity or imposter syndrome is separate from that. I've worked with many people, and I say this a lot. Some people who have a low level of the language can feel very confident and very relaxed and very present. And then I've worked with a lot of people who have a very high language and practically have panic attacks when they have to speak English. And obviously I work also with public speaking. It's not just a second language issue, but how people feel when they're speaking in front of a crowd of people or in front of an audience or in a group. So I think imposter syndrome, I know imposter syndrome, as we're talking about it today, can be applied to all of those. Then, Isabel, explain what exactly is, you've mentioned a little bit about insecurity. What for you is imposter syndrome?
Well, for me, imposter syndrome is the feeling that you are not good enough. Even if you are more than good, even if you have a great knowledge about some area, you can think that what you know is only what you need to know, but what everyone can know. The imposter syndrome is some kind of insecurity or lack of confidence, because you think you have an expectation. You could have an expectation higher than you can achieve, or you can, if you I now what happens now in this moment is that I feel like an imposter, and this is what is I'm stuck when I'm talking to you now. I'm getting stuck because I would like to say what I know with clarity, or more clear, or without mistakes. and and I think that I'm talking about something that I don't have the enough knowledge to talk about.
Okay, cool. So let's look at what's happening in real time at the moment.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right now, Isabel is thinking, I don't want to make mistakes. I want to talk with clarity. Mm-hmm. And I'm talking about something I don't know enough about. So while all of that is going round in Isabel's mind, or it's coming up for her, what is happening, Isabel, as you're thinking that, what's happening inside of you?
Inside of me is happening that I'm getting nervous, and I think that I'm getting nervous because I feel that I can't talk about it. I can't talk about it, but actually I can. So
and actually you are. So
yeah.
I want people who are watching to see what is happening in real time, because this is not just relevant for English as a second language learners. This is relevant for any of us when we're in a situation of communication. That Isabel is wanting to express something, and yet she's got these thoughts going around in her mind. And when she's taken them seriously and she's allowed herself to get carried away by the nerves and thought, oh my God, I'm feeling nervous, she's felt blocked, as they say in Spanglish, or stuck. And then when we've continued talking, she said, oh, actually I can. And she stopped taking the thoughts seriously. And now she's ready to continue with the conversation, because the thoughts are not giving her any information about what is really happening. They're just giving her information about what she is thinking.
Exactly.
What is really happening is she and I are just sitting here, having a conversation, talking. That's it. How are you feeling now, Isabel?
Relax. Yeah. Almost relax.
And that's fine. There's nothing. There's nerves are not dangerous. Why do you think we're so afraid of nerves, Isabel?
Nervous no, nervous are part of me. They are. I need to be a little bit nervous to be active, to think. Is not something. There is nothing wrong with have some nervous, but when I'm in my thoughts, and my thoughts get the control, is when I'm stuck and I can continue the conversation. Yeah. So the imposter syndrome is that feeling that we can feel, everyone can feel, or I'm sure that everyone have felt this feeling sometime in their lives. Is that feeling related with that I would need to know more about some specific area, or I would need to be better in some ability, and sometimes we think that if we achieve some goal, is not because we are ready and we have a great knowledge or we have a great English level. is because it's something that has to happen, or is something due to we are lucky, or we are lucky to have the opportunity to do something. But actually, normally, we have been doing an effort to get it. So, for example, in my case, with my English, I always think that I'm not ready to do many things, and later on I discover that yes, that I can. The opinion that I have about myself is so low in comparison what people think about it, and I always think that people is telling me that I'm good. I can understand well what native speakers when native speakers say that I'm quite good in the conversation. I think that they are telling that because they don't want to hurt me, or they want to feel me to make me feel comfortable. But maybe not. I'm using maybe because I'm not confident about myself.
Well, it is interesting because the question that comes up for me is, if you really want to do something, like, for example, sing with children, and teach children and have fun with children, what does it matter what you think about your English or what someone else thinks about your English?
Yeah. Is a good question. I think I would like to have a mirror of myself with the expectation that I have about myself. So my expectation in this case maybe is so high. So my expectation is probably to do the work that I'm doing in the same level that I was doing this work or similar jobs in my own language. So to be honest, children, they don't mind if I use the language correctly or not, or if I make mistakes or not. Even they don't know if I'm doing mistakes or not. But it's something related with my own expectation. When I'm working with the children and I'm seeing, I can see the mistakes that I'm doing. Or now, for example, I know the mistakes when in my grammar or in the way that I'm talking. I can see my mistakes, and I don't like this mirror of myself because of the expectations, which is the reason why we think that we feel ourselves like an imposter. This is one of the reasons. to have higher expectations.
Yeah, and it's fascinating because, well, as human beings, we like to give labels for everything. We like to create concepts, and the concept of an expectation, well, it has its meaning. Yet when it occurs in real time, and it's simply a thought. It's another thought. So while you're speaking and you realize that you're making a mistake, maybe you have a thought of, I just made that mistake. And the more you stay in that thinking, or the more you think about that, then the more you get distracted from the conversation.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
You get that, right?
Yeah. I
get that very
see
well.
and this is what is happening all the time. I'm so aware about what is happening in my daily basis.
Yeah. And then and it's great that you're aware. Awareness is fantastic when through awareness we come back to ourselves and to the present. If through awareness we start to get involved with the thinking and think, this is happening again, this means that I'm not controlling my thinking, or this means that, I think too much. If we give meaning all the time to, I've got imposter syndrome, this means that I have too many expectations. If we give a lot of meaning, that's just more thinking on top of 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 more thinking. And we end up being weighed down by the pressure. This is why I'm not a fan of promoting thoughts to solid concepts like an expectation. It's like, if it's a thought, it's harmless, but if it's an expectation, oh my God, or if it's imposter syndrome, when we can be aware of those thoughts and not give them too much importance, that's really, really powerful. Because when we start to realize that certain thoughts are harmful for us, suddenly it doesn't make so much sense to keep thinking them, and they don't come as quickly anymore, and we're able to return to the present, which we will talk more about in a minute, about the present and what that actually means. I just want to, there's a few comments in the chat, so I'm gonna just read them to you, Isabel, because I know that you can't see the chat. So John, my godfather, has said, empathy is vital to accommodate a meaningful communication between all people. But essentially, if one party is not using their native language, exactly. Yeah. I would say in all circumstances, but yeah. And it's almost, for me, when I'm communicating with someone who's not native, it adds another level of curiosity, because there's that sort of separate culture, separate language. And I find that curiosity helps me to be more present.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you find that, Isabel?
Yeah.
Actually, Isabel, you said that the other day in the English Practice Network session. You said that when you're at work and you're finding the conversations, something grabs your attention in the conversation, you ask about it if you're not understanding it, because you're curious to know more about it.
Yeah, and it happens without thinking about it. It's spontaneously. Happens. I'm going to ask.
Yeah. Spontaneous. and this is the thing. I don't want people watching to think that, I don't need to learn any more pronunciation or grammar or vocabulary. No, it's great to keep learning. The point is that it's not useful to learn when you're in the conversation. Let me explain. If when you're in the conversation, you're aware that you make a mistake, but there's zero drama, and you're like, that's a mistake, and it's zero important, you will learn from that mistake naturally. But if you, oh my God, I can't make mistakes, then that, as we've already spoken about, that makes you feel stuck. And then after the conversation, and especially if the conversation is recorded like today, you can go back and you can listen to the conversation again, and you can correct your mistakes then. Improving the language is fun and it's good, and that's that's part of it. It's just not useful to be focused on that when you're in a conversation and communicating with someone, like Isabel was saying before. Let's have a look at some more comments. So Rowan says, Let's see. Rowan says, you're doing great, Isabel. There is so much to think about when you speak another language. And Rowan, I know, speaks many languages. He's amazing. John has also said, perfection is potentially a straight jacket. Far better to be yourself. Cool. And I'm going to take that comment, and in a minute I'll ask Isabel something about that. John has also said, the environment in which you are performing will most likely determine the level of comfort Isabel experiences. If she was in a job interview, I suspect it would be heightened, whereas if she was in a jazz club, she would probably be more relaxed. Her expectation of the audience's level of acceptance would have different thresholds. Yes, I agree to a certain extent that if we are in a job interview, or let's say a job interview, in our heads, in our minds, we invent it as a job interview. This is important. And we invent that situation. You know, everything that we do as human beings in the sense of this is a job interview is invented, because, I mean, dogs and cats don't have job interviews, do they? So we invent this thing, and then we create a scenario, because everything, 100% of what we feel and we experience is generated on the inside. So we might be, as a habit, we might be more used to taking the outside ingredient of a jazz concert to feel relaxed, and taking the outside ingredient of a job interview to feel nervous. But essentially the sensation is being created on the inside. In fact, there are some people who love job interviews and hate jazz. What do you think, Isabel?
Yes, the potential to manage our feelings in the way that they help us. Everyone, we have that potential, so we can do whatever we choose. We can choose our feelings, our reaction, or our the way to cope with what is happening. So I am the same. I am the same in a jazz concert and in a job interview. So whatever I can do in a jazz concert, I can do the same. I can feel the same, or I can behave the same in a job interview.
Yeah, and I'm going to ask you something about that in 1 second, just to say to any people who are watching, I can't see who's watching, if anyone, at the moment, but if you would like to ask any questions to Isabel and to myself, then just write them in the comments and we will answer them shortly. Okay, so the question is, Isabel, can we manage our feelings?
I think so.
How?
First of all, being aware about our feelings, and being aware, and if we want to feel and live in them, I can, if I'm aware about what I'm feeling, I can live it. I can feel that. I can allow myself to feel in that way. And after that, I can choose if I want to keep that feeling, or I want to do something different.
And if you want to do something different, how do you do that? When you say do something different, what do you mean?
I can change my thoughts, for example, or I can pretend that I'm feeling something different.
Explain to me how to do that, and then I will do that and feel happy all the time.
No, this is not. I need to live, to allow myself to feel anything that any feeling that comes to me. But I don't need to do anything. If I allow myself to feel whatever, the feelings are going to change, to transform in another thing, because we can't be stuck in one emotion all the time. But we can do things to help to the change of our feelings, the changing our thoughts, or managing the focus of our attention.
Yeah, so I definitely agree that because there's a contradiction, because you talked about managing our feelings, and then you said if you allow them to just be, then they will transform.
Yeah, but this is because of the limits for me of the language. When to manage.
Okay.
I want to say for me to manage is something like to allow I don't know how to say, but to manage. I'm not talking about to put to have control.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Sorry.
No need to apologize. That's something that we work with a lot in the English Practice Network, is stopping to say sorry when we're communicating, because communication is a two-way thing. So the only objective in communication is for both people to understand each other. And if there's an objective of the conversation, together to reach the objective. So what you're saying is that the thing is, a lot of people talk about managing emotions. It's a very typical expression in English, and they refer to, like labeling the emotion. Oh, I'm feeling sad, and then trying to think a positive thought in order to not feel sad anymore. And for me, all of that, as you say yourself, is a lot of control. It's just giving us more work to do. And remember that we're in a conversation. So the more mental work we have to do in a conversation, then the less we're going to be present in the conversation. And at the end, the more nervous, or at least the more stressed we're going to feel. So if we're trying to, okay, now I need to think of a positive thought, or I need to pretend that I'm feeling amazing. Like, as I said, if that really worked, I know it's a popular strategy in positive thinking world, but if that really worked, then all of us would be feeling happy all of the time. and actually our experience of life is a lot more colorful and a lot more dynamic than that. And if we're okay with our experience, and we trust in ourselves with a capital O, not the little I, which is the I we create with our thinking, the ego, but we trust the big I to sort it out naturally, then the emotions are going to change. And we're going to have a rich experience of life. We're going to have a colorful experience of life, whether that be in a job interview or a jazz concert or a live conversation in Facebook. And as a curiosity, Isabel, how are you feeling now?
Now I'm relaxed.
Yeah. And you didn't have to think a positive thought in order to feel relaxed, I imagine. I don't know.
No, I don't need it. No, I don't need it. But sometimes helps. Sometimes if I think if I think something positive, or I think that I'm fine, that's helped me to.
Yeah.
But of course, in some occasions, usually what really helps me is to accept what is happening.
Yeah.
Without to try to put control in my thoughts. Because what is happening is happening, and is easier to be to be relaxed, or accepting what is happening.
Yeah. And I have several questions, but well, just one thing I wanted to say related to your last comment is that, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we don't control the thoughts that come into our head. The only thing we can do is either get involved with them or not. And sometimes we can have a helpful thought that comes into our head when we become more present. The thoughts tend to become more helpful. So you might have a thought of, hey, you're okay. And that's cool. That's like a feeling. And that brings me to the question, which is, what does it mean to be present? I mean, we're talking about being in the thoughts and being in the thoughts. What's the opposite of that? I mean, where is the present experience happening?
The present experience happening is our feelings, what we feel. This is real, and this is now. This is what's happening now.
Yeah. Yes, we've got our bodies. These are our bodies, and
our body.
Physically, they're always. We're always in the present. We cannot be anywhere else. We cannot breathe. We cannot feel. And so whatever is going on in our bodies is real. And so we can, at any moment, if we're getting very up in our heads, we're thinking a lot, and we're which happens to all of us. Come on. At any moment, we can, take a deep breath. Not to control our experience, but just to say, it's almost that thought that Isabel was saying, to say, hey, I'm fine. Like nothing's happening. All of this, blah, 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 it isn't happening. It's not real. And when you take a breath, it's a physical reminder of, oh God, okay, this is life. It's here. I'm here. This is this conversation. This is what's happening here is real. It's just this, not everything that I'm inventing about me and who I am and how I perform, and if I'm an imposter and or the Punisher. We spoke about that the other day, so it just came to mind. Yeah. So that brings me to the next question, which is, what does it mean, as relating back to John's comment? What does it mean to be yourself in a conversation?
To be present.
And I love that answer, because normally what people will start to say as well, to be me is to, I'm like this, and usually I'm like this, and this is my personality, and and all of that is more thinking about themselves, which is actually taking them away from being themselves in the conversation. And let me relate that to confidence as well, because often people will come to me that I'm not confident. I need to find my confidence. For you, Isabel, where does confidence come from?
From my experience, from my achievements, from my achievements in every day and in the past, in the whole of my life. My confidence, yeah.
Go on, they finish yourself.
Yeah, my confidence comes every moment when I can see that I improved something in anything that I'm doing. My improvement.
And what about, I want to link this back again as well. I'll respond to that in a minute, but just to continue exploring that a little bit. What about the children that you work with? Where does their confidence, when you see them as confident, where does that come from?
From their they are experiencing the life in a present moment,
right?
Their confidence comes from, they are I always think that they are, and I know that they are building their confidence because of the recognition, sorry, sorry. From the recognition of the adults. And I can see that at first they don't need that recognition. They are quite happy with their achievements. They don't have expectations. Everything is for them is good enough. And the adults, we are. I'm not doing that, but I can see that the adults what they use they get to use is to put some labels in the achievements of the children, and I think they start too early to build their confidence based in the opinion of in the recognition of the adults, but they don't need at first they don't need recognition. They are quite happy and satisfied with their achievements, with what they are doing.
Wow, that is so interesting. So it's like when we come to this world, we're naturally confident, and we're still that same human being that we were when we came to this world. You know, we've just evolved a little bit. And from what Isabel is saying, when we start to, I guess it's when we start to think about ourselves and we start to, you know, create the ego, create an idea of ourselves, and the whole thing with recognition, which is another whole topic, which I think is fascinating, then that's when we feel like our confidence has to come from our achievements and from recognition. But in fact, when you look at little children, you can see that confidence is natural and it's unrelated to their capacity. Like when children are learning to walk, for example, they're not overthinking it or not thinking about how they're doing. They're just getting up because they really, really, really want to do it. And I think for me, that's a distinction. One of the questions I asked you earlier, Isabel, I can't remember the exact question. Oh yeah, it was, if you really want to do something, does it matter what you think about how you're doing it, or what other people think about how you're doing it? And obviously hay momentos there are moments where it does matter because you're thinking about that and you're evaluating, and that's fine. But when we're actually doing that activity, if we're thinking about that, then it stops us from doing it, or it makes us not do it so well, or it makes us have other consequences for our health, for example. If you're doing something you really want to do, but you're putting lots of pressure on yourself, you get stressed, and then that leads to all sorts of mental health and health problems. So I really think, and in my own case as well, talking about playing music, like singing and guitar, there are times when, it's really good to get feedback from other people. And other times I just think, well, when I get feedback from someone, they're just they have a thought in a moment. They tell me their thought. Maybe later they have another thought. It's not like feedback is never truth, even my own feedback. So the only important thing is, if I'm really enjoying it, I want to keep doing it. And evaluating myself or over-evaluating myself or depending too much on outside opinion takes away my enjoyment of that and stops me from doing it as much as I'd like to. I've just seen that even more clearly than I'd seen it before. Thank you, Isabel.
You're welcome. But that's true. I can see the same. I can see that when I'm with the children and I leave me do what I want, and when I start to sing or to tell a story and to get involved with the story, is when I don't mind to make mistakes, or I'm not really focused in if I wrong or not. I'm just enjoying my time with them. Yeah, but it's not happening all the time. But it's enough to know that I'm already doing it.
And also you're already doing it, and it's already, I would say it's already happening, and it's natural. Because we tend to think that the natural thing is the other one. The natural thing is the effort and the stress and the pressure and And when we can actually connect to the fact that, hey, no, natural is just like here. This is what, what's happening now, and feeling like myself, as John said, or feeling present, as we've said, or feeling confident, or enjoying. There's many words pretty much for the same thing. And then progress. When we're not so focused on progress happens more quickly. And in fact, there can be people, I've said this already, people with very high level skills, or people who've achieved lots of things and are very used to doing something. And one day they can just feel really nervous for no reason, or vice versa. Someone who's completely starting out, like that child who's starting to work, the child who's starting to walk, or someone who's starting to learn a musical instrument or a language, they can completely enjoy it. And then their progress can sometimes be very fast. Wow. Okay. So I feel like we've covered a lot. It's been a really eye-opening conversation. I wonder if anybody who is watching has any questions or any comments before we wrap up for today. First of all, if you do, please write them in the chat and we will respond. And if you're not watching live and you have some questions when you watch this video later, then just write in the comments and we will both answer them. And is there anything else you would like to add, Isabel? Pedro, hey, how are you doing? Do you have a question, Pedro? If you have a question, write it in the chat. And just to mention as well that Isabel is a member of the English Practice Network. And if anyone would like to come and try a session of the English Practice Network and join our group and overcome all these sorts of imposter syndromes or lack of presence or too much pressure or lack of progress with English or frustration with English or whatever you want to call it, then just write in the comments or send me a private message. Then if there are no questions, a couple more minutes, guys, if you want to ask any questions. Isabel, is there anything you would like to add today?
I didn't I had different expectations, because even I didn't want to have expectations about today. I told you before to start. I didn't want it, but I had something in my mind. Yeah. I'm not told what I wanted to say, but I'm quite happy, because at the end, this is what is happening is real, and I'm not only what I have in my mind or what I had ready to say. I'm a human being, and I'm feeling things. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk in this way, in a natural way, without pressure. And I have to say that at the end of the conversation, or at the end, from the half of the conversation to now, I'm at home. I feel that I'm at home, and that makes me feel confident. and myself.
We've been spontaneous. Really cool, Isabel, and congratulations. Amazing challenge, more than completed. And yeah, I love what you said, that, and I want to say this to everyone, that anyone watching, you are not the content of your thoughts. Okay, you're the space within which everything is created. And while in this moment one thing is being created, in the next moment naturally something else will be created. So get on the ride, enjoy it, and do what you want to do. If you really want to speak English, or you want to speak in public, or you want to sing, whatever you want to do, just get out there and do it, like Isabel has done today. She's been an example today of just throwing yourself in the deep end, and even when you have expectations and thoughts, getting on with it and seeing what happens. Having said that, Isabel, if there is something you did want to say that you haven't said that you do want to say, now is literally your last opportunity. If there's something you want to add or some advice you want to give people, then you can, or we can leave it there. It's up to you.
I only want to say that to get this challenge, to have the opportunity to get this challenge, and it makes me feel satisfied, and it makes me feel that if I've done this, I can do more. Thank you.
Thank you. And enough said. And Manuela says, thank you for sharing your experience, Isabel. You are brave. And John says, well done, Isabel.
Thank you.
So thank you, everybody, for watching. As I've said, if you have any more questions after, just write them in the chat. And Isabel, thank you very much again. John says, bravo. And have a great evening, everybody. And I will see you all very soon.
Thank you.
See you later.
Bye-bye. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.